If you're one of my regular viewers here on GarageBand and Beyond, you probably know that the interface I've been using for years and years is this little guy right here, the Focusrite Sapphire Pro 24 DSP. Great little interface, tons of inputs, lots of cool features. The DSP chip being the best one, the best feature about it in my opinion. It enables you to do things like compress signals on the way in if you need to do that. However, I thought it was time. I started getting better microphones in the studio, having, better monitors, all these kinds of things. And I kept reading about this interface, which I'm gonna call the best home recording studio interface that money can buy. If you're in a small space and you don't have a ton of money, but you want the great stuff, there is one interface that stood out amongst all of the other ones in my opinion, and that was the Focusrite Claret 4 Pre, and that's what we're gonna talk about today. So like I said in that intro, this thing right here, this did every single Music Monday video, all of those songs, tons of recording, tons of mixing. It's a great little thing. But I wanted better preamps, and I specifically wanted a better D to A converter. So what I mean by that is basically the part of any interface that recreates the sound that comes out of it and then goes back through your monitors. I knew that this one was not the best. This is not the world's most expensive interface by any means, right? But if you watch the other reviews, if you read other reviews, the one thing about that Claret, besides, the features, the inputs, and how good the preamps are, and the air feature, which we'll talk about, the one thing that I kept seeing was people talking about how good the quality of the audio coming out of it was. So right out of the gate, I can tell you, I'm very familiar with my room, very familiar with my monitors. I plugged that thing in and I pushed play on some of my Music Monday songs, and it was instantly noticeable. The mid-range in general, better, clearer, more tight low end, which I really, really like. It was significantly different. I don't want to say that this thing sounds bad. It does not sound bad. But when you are really trying to hone in on audio quality, it's those little, sometimes it's a 2% increase, sometimes it's a 10% increase, but it's those little tiny things. There's a compounding factor there, right? So I got a better microphone, then I wanted a better preamp, and now I have better monitors, and now I have a better converter to convert that audio back through my good monitors, right? That makes a huge difference in the mixing stage. And that's something that I think is widely overlooked when you are shopping for interfaces. A lot of the lesser expensive ones, they're fine, they're good. But when you get to the better stuff like this Claret, it is really, really noticeable how much better the audio is coming out of that interface and back through my monitors to me. So that's something I wanted to talk about right away. Now, of course, the preamps are great, completely transparent, and by transparent, I mean that they don't color the sound at all, okay? So no matter how much you crank them up, they're just going to give you a nice clean signal. I do use an SM7B through it. I did have to turn them out quite a bit, as is usual for the SM7B by Shure. It is classically known as a low gain microphone. However, I cranked those preamps up and it was pretty much dead silent. Of course, if you sit there and turn it all the way up, you're gonna start hearing some stuff. But if you get your signal to noise ratios proper, then you don't have to worry about those kinds of things. And in general, no one's gonna be sitting there listening to like dead silence with everything cranked up. At that point, you're hearing your headphone amplifiers, your headphones, cables, interference in the room perhaps. Anyway, the preamps are exceptionally good. And I am gonna list, here's a bunch of stats on the thing as far as the inputs and all that kind of stuff. So why did I go for the 4 Pre, not the 2 or the 16, okay? So I've had this guy forever, like I mentioned. This has 2 little XLRs on the front, which was very useful to me, but there were certainly times where I wished that I had 4 or 3 right up front. I do have an external preamp, which was nice, but sometimes I wanted to make sure that all 3 inputs or 4 inputs were exactly the same preamp, because that becomes a concern depending on what you're recording and depending all sorts of different things. But if you're using a bunch of the same microphones and you're going into the same interface, using the same preamps is going to be a very nice luxury, okay? So that's really cool. The Focusrite control application that you download from Focusrite is really good, really easy to use. I will also mention that their customer service and their support area on their website, very useful. because for a couple of minutes I couldn't get the thing to sync with my computer. So I think it maybe took me like 3 or 4 minutes worth of reading and downloading new drivers, and boom, it was working flawlessly. It was fantastic. Also, I should mention that I bought mine used on eBay. I got it for $405. I am one of those people who does the last minute bid things. I don't know if you've ever bought anything on eBay, but here's my tip about shopping on eBay. Find something that's at a low price range, right? And see who's bidding on it. Place a bid on it so you keep getting the notifications. You can put it on your watch list, but I like to just sort of put it in there, and I'll put my bid in, and then you can watch it count down. In the last minute, try to outbid that guy. Just put in your number and fingers crossed you get it. Like if you don't, you don't, because it's in the last minute. You don't usually get time to put in a second or third bid. But I got lucky. $405 for a Claret 4 Pre, totally a great deal. Fantastic deal. Now, I should go back. Why didn't I want 16 channels? Because I don't need 16 channels most of the time here. Occasionally I do need to record drums, but I still have my Sapphire Pro 40 from Focusrite, which I can connect to the Claret using an optical cable, and I can use that Pro 40 as an external preamp. So that enables me to have a whole other 8 channels of perfectly fine little preamps, to use for drums or anything like that. If I need a bunch of other channels, I can just plug in the old Pro 40. So if you have one of those old Pro 40s, hold on to that thing, because you can do that. Use it as an external pre with 8 preamps in it. It's a very nice little option, and the optical cable does it. Takes a little bit of setup in the mix control application from Focusrite, but very, very nice feature if you have one of those older interfaces and want to be able to use it in the future. Really great thing. In general, I think the Claret 4 Pre is by far the nicest interface that I've ever played with, heard. It's in tons of professional studios. It's a great thing. It's not necessarily, maybe the 4 Pre and the 2 Pre isn't really like professional standard because it doesn't have all those channels and the meters and stuff, but it is the same stuff inside. Same preamps, same D to A converters, same A to D converters, same air feature, same all sorts of different things, but it's all the same guts inside of the smaller guys. So that's what I think makes them really exceptional for the home recording studio. You don't have to spend, call it $1,000 on this 16 channel one. If you don't need those 16 channels, get the little ones. Rest assured, you're getting the same exact stuff inside, just less channels. That's it. But the 4 Pre has a ton of inputs on the back as well. There's SPDIF and you saw the list. There's a bunch of inputs, plenty of inputs for that thing. I think that's all I need to say. I think by now you understand that I love the Claret, and I highly recommend it. This is not a sponsored video at all. I paid for that thing with my own money. Well, some of that money did come from my patrons on Patreon. I do have a Patreon page, so if you feel like supporting the channel, check out the Patreon page. And if you do feel like helping me, it's a really, really big help if you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. We all say it here on YouTube, but it is actually a really big help to us. So that's it, you guys. I think I like the thing and I highly recommend it. So have an awesome day. To my American viewers out there, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Don't eat too much, but have a good time with your families and have a wonderful holiday season in general. I will talk to you later. All right, peace and love.